All right, this video is for any new SDRs that are looking to improve their cold calling. I'm going to be breaking down how to turn cold calling into an easy, repeatable process that you can measure and get better within. I think out of all the posts I've done on this channel, this is the most important, helpful one that I've done to date. So stick around because I'm going to be taking you through how to do this from cold call script all the way down to handling common objections. So let's get into it. All right, if you're like me when I was new to cold calling, my strategy was to put my head down, charge full steam ahead, tell them what I did, ask if they were interested, and then hope and pray they said yes, and they almost never did. And what I really needed the whole time was a process that I could get better within rather than hope. Hope is not a process. So this is the strategy that was born through a lot of trial and error. I know it probably looks like a lot right now, but I promise you this is all gonna make sense in a second, and it's actually really gonna make things simple for you. So the start of this process is making a value statement. If you watch my other videos, you know I preach value statements, which are very different in my opinion from the typical cold call scripts I see out there. So a value statement is where you take control of the call, you do most of the talking at the outset and give off value to start. So you tell them who you are, why you're calling, and what you want. Because when a prospect answers and they realize, I have no idea who this person is, I'm in the middle of my workday, this is not a call I was expecting, you need to answer those three questions for them. Who you are, why you're calling, what you want. The who you are is how you describe yourself. The why you're calling is the value, your solution, how you can help them, the purpose for your call. And then the what is typically time on their calendar. Once you make that statement, which ideally is within the first 30 to 60 seconds of the call, there's only three possible outcomes, and that's why this process simplifies things. If you make a value statement and you ask for time on their calendar, the three possible outcomes are that they say yes, they give you a hard no, which includes being hung up on, or they give you an objection. So now they're within your funnel and you can anticipate any of these outcomes because there's only three. It's either a yes, it's a hard no, or an objection. If you get a yes, what you do is pretty self-explanatory. You book the meeting. And my advice here is you book the meeting quickly. Don't do too much talking. A lot of reps make the mistake of taking a victory lap where they ask a bunch of questions like, what do you want to get most out of on this call? And who else on your side should be there? And who else on our side should be there? And sometimes the prospect's like, if this is what it's going to be like working with you, click, I'm just going to hang up. So my advice, book the meeting quickly. It sounds self-explanatory, but quick piece of advice there. If they get a hard no, there's nothing you can do. If they hang up on you, there's nothing you can do. You can't salvage that call. It's fine. You're going to get hung up on a lot. I still get hung up on all the time. That's part of being in sales. That's part of making cold calls. It's fine. In which case, also self-explanatory. You make your next call. So out of the three possible outcomes, yes, no, or objection, two are very, very self-explanatory. You either book the meeting or you make your next call. So that just leaves one other possible outcome after you make a value statement, and that's an objection, a legitimate objection. So I put some common ones here, and if you're smart, and what I do is you get really good first at the most common objections you receive, like we already work with a competitor. Hey, thanks for reaching out, but we actually already work with a competitor. Or other initiatives taking priority right now. Hey, we just don't have the bandwidth right now, maybe reach back out down the line. Or no budget. Hey, we just don't have this budgeted right now. Insert common example. So now we're at the final outcome. It's either a yes, a no, or you receive an objection. And then the process, your first line of defense when you receive an objection is to sell time. It's acknowledge their concern, say, hey, got it. That's actually why I was reaching out. And then tell them it makes sense to meet anyway. So whatever it is, whether we work with a competitor, other initiatives, and I'll link to an example in a recent video where I do just that. So now I'll take you through a full example of this funnel where I make a value statement, I take control and tell them who, why, what, and then I proceed to receive one of these objections and then sell time. So in this example, I'll be a tech sales rep calling into a finance department of a life sciences account. I say, hey Jem, this is Connor Murray calling from X company. How are you? Good. I'm just reaching out because I'm part of the account team that supports X company regarding back office finance applications. So anything related to your finance, accounting, and operations processes. And we work with companies specifically in the life science industry, typically on priorities related to planning, budgeting, forecasting, reducing the reliance on Excel and other manual processes in any of these areas. And I know I kind of called you out of the blue here, so I'm more just looking to set aside some time next week to get introduced and aligned going forward. Are you free on Wednesday or Thursday? Hey, thanks for reaching out, Connor. We actually already work with a competitor of yours in this area, so I don't think it makes sense to me. Got it. That's actually why I was reaching out. We work with customers of X competitor all the time. This is more just to get introduced and aligned going forward. If there's ever a fit, we can move ahead, but I think it at least makes sense to get introduced going forward because we'll be your main point of contact for at least the next year. So does next Wednesday work for you? So that's just one example, but within 30 to 60 seconds there, I already got 2 quality shots on net where I asked for time on this person's calendar. And even if they object to that second time where I doubled down and sold time, which happens all the time, they've at least signaled now that they're willing to stay on the phone and engage, and I've earned their respect in some capacity. And to summarize, you can measure this process and keep a cold call batting average. I'm gonna make a full video on this topic, but if you get 100 lives, you can keep track of how many yeses you get, how many no's you get, and then how many objections you get and how many of those you handled. And then you can pay attention to which objections am I better or worse at handling, and this is how you can focus on where should I be doubling down, where do I need to improve, and that's how you get better over time. Because in the end, you're never gonna book the majority of live calls you get. It's like professional baseball players in the MLB. None of them are shooting for above 500 batting average. That's just not feasible. They're trying to figure out, how do I go from a 250 batting average to a 275 batting average, or 275 to 300? And the way you do that is finding small areas where you can improve at the margin. And this is how you do it. You have to measure it. So I hope this helped. I hope it makes sense of cold calling and gives you a process you can use and work with to get better within. If it did, hit the like button and I'll see you on the next one.